And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Got a Podcast, episode 9.
Yeah, we're at 9.
Episode 9. I apologize for last time. I said episode 7 on episode 7 and 8. So it's episode 9 now. Today we want to talk about stats pretty much again. Right?
Yeah, kind of like stats and, how to kind of distinguish between the art and business side of things. Because a lot of times I think, we either get stuck on, we just need to be the artist and then forgetting the business like we talked about on previous podcasts. And now it's kind of like trying to figure out how can you balance between the two.
We've also been joined by 2 artists. Introduce yourself, fellas.
Dolla,
TwonDonUC.
And where are you guys from?
Both from Jersey.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you guys are 2 artists who are very stylish. You guys pay a lot of attention on the imagery. How important do you feel that is to your artistry?
It plays a part, but even bigger than that, that's like, I can speak for myself. That's who I am as a person. So it's just me being true to myself or how I dress and, just making sure that the way I look coincides with the way I sound and the way I present myself. So everything is like a full package.
I like that you said that that's who you are. I think that a lot of artists aren't that person and they fabricate it because they think that that's the move. Like if you're a stylish person regularly, I feel like 100% use that as a tool for success. You know what I mean? But if you're not, I feel like it's weird to start dressing a certain way because you think that that's the move.
I agree with that. And I got to piggyback off of what Dunn said. Like, when it's just naturally how you are, then it makes it a little easier and convincible. Like, because it's easy to get caught slipping too, right?
Right.
So they could catch you on the off day, like, oh, you ain't who I thought you were, type of shit. You know what I mean? But I think it does play a part because, you also got to remember, like, they fall in love with you off of your sound and your music. But I think it's important that, like, to an extent, like when you build in a core or cult, they want to kind of look like you too.
Mm-hmm.
So they look at what you're wearing, they look at what stores you shop at, and they try to like emulate that if they're inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of, to me, it's 50-50 to be honest.
But see, we also brought up like Bryson Tiller and how he came out and he was just with the dad hat and like cozy clothes.
Yeah.
And how it shifts the entire culture. Like people who didn't want to dress up the way that like your typical rapper or singer would dress up were able to just be like, oh, I could be myself. Yeah, I think it works both ways. I think that people fall into like the fashion shit off their favorite artist. But like if an artist came out and they were just themselves, they were like rocking sweats every day, people would also be like, oh, it's okay to be myself.
Hell yeah.
And I think now more than ever, that shit is really applying where people can be themselves because it's the internet. It's not, you don't have to be as flashy anymore. Back in the day, they were like doing appearances at like radio stations and shit and like be decked out in like True Religion and shit. You know what I mean? And now you don't really have to be. It's
it don't
like,
feel like a lunchroom no more.
Yeah. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, because honestly, as soon as y'all walked down, I was like, oh, they know how to dress. I'm out here in sweats and a regular t-shirt.
But you coolin', bro.
That's how
you
it
like
be,
what
though.
you like.
Yeah, that's exactly how it would be.
Yeah, and it's you.
Yeah.
It's you. Like, that's them. And you don't have to act like the other person just to
fit
give
the
off
mold.
the image. Yeah, exactly. Fit the mold. There's no mold in hip-hop anymore.
Nah, it's open, man.
How many like little white kids are online rapping and like getting huge? You know what I'm saying? And that didn't apply a long time. Like we talked about on a couple episodes ago, back in the day when we started rapping, we thought you had to talk about the guns and shit.
Yeah.
All the tough guy shit because that's what was going on when we were kids. Like when we were coming up, there wasn't like Kanye was the first person that really like gave it up where it was like you could be a regular person, a suburban kid and not be a tough guy and make it.
I agree with that.
Because he went head to head with 50.
Right. And he kind of built all of us to where we're like comfortable. Like I could say that he created the generation of like comfortability where you no longer had to be that tough guy, gangster rapper.
Could wear a pink polo. Right. Tell everybody I love my mom. Yeah.
That's
That's fire. That's fire.
I think it's dope. I do think that there are people who put more emphasis on the fashion itself than they do on the music. And that's where this whole topic even comes to hand. It's like, there should be a decent balance of focus on the two. Because how many artists do you see that you're like, dude's fly, let me listen to his music. And then the music is just garbage.
Or it's not even there. Like there's been a few times I came across like a few musicians in their Instagram and they're like, oh, they do music. and I'm scrolling through looking for like a track or a video or anything, and all I just see is pictures of them and like music coming soon, music coming soon. There's no links inside like the you know, their description, so it's like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, are you an artist or what? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that'd be the worst thing to come across. Like,
yeah, this is worse.
Or even worse, I know I've seen like a couple times, like, you know, might get a follow somebody, like, okay, you know, they got the link in their bio to a link to their song or whatever. And you go, it's just like pictures of them. You know, it's like, okay. You go to their shit and it don't like match up to like what they got going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so you got the image, but you don't got the music.
Right.
Like, or they fronting, you know, like, you know, they got 700 likes and they songs is like 50 plays. Like,
I hate to see it.
Yeah,
I hate to see it, but I see it all the time.
What's going
I hate
on
to see
over
it, but I
there?
see it all the time.
Son, they adding up.
Well, that's the trick with the internet. It's like you never know what's real anymore.
Yeah.
You could really like fake a whole career.
Hell yeah.
And there's people out there with probably like 50,000 followers that are all fake, and they're probably charging people a lot for features because they could just get it off.
Fake it till you make it type of shit.
Right. How do you guys feel about that? Like, what's your thought process on that? Like, do you give any credit to someone who is able to hustle like that?
I wouldn't say give them credit, but it's like, yo, if that's what's gonna work for you, then I'm not gonna knock it, because you know what I'm saying?
Right. You can't knock the hustle.
Somebody falling for the shit, so it's working, obviously.
I just feel like there's just a lot of like holes when you move like that, because in my opinion, it's just like if it's not legit numbers and you just using it for like public perception, then you suffering like privately.
Because you have to keep up with that all the time.
Yeah, and it's just like, how can you feel right of putting out a video or a record and knowing that you can't gauge the data? Like, if it's all like fugazi, you don't even know where these people are from that's really listening to your shit in case you wanted to like tour or like target ads or whatever. It's just, if the numbers is all fake, it's hard to kind of filter that shit. Like,
I make the argument that like
together.
A person who's buying plays and shit isn't really focused on gauging the data in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you would ever pay for fake followers and fake plays if you even knew what gauging data was.
Right.
You know, I think that there's a lot of artists out there that they have a perception of what music is. And because everything's numbers, that's their perception of like, this is how you get successful. You just have a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
But like, the success is all in the pinpoint data. It's like, all right, I have listeners in Phoenix. I have listeners in fucking wherever.
Because you got to step out eventually too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So like, well, you just going to play the internet all day. And
do you
like,
think you have to step out in today's day?
I think that's still an important like part of like building a core fan base to me. It's like stepping out, showing face, meet and greets, shows, pop-up shops. Like,
That's what makes it real.
Yeah, when they can
like, it's on the internet, it's like you can't really like, that's not tangible. You know what I'm saying? You can't go and shake a hand of someone that's listening to your music if you're not outside.
I just feel like now more than ever, you could really build such a strong following on the internet to where you can create that like cult-like fan base. And then when you go and see them, it's different. You know what I mean? Where back in the day, you might have like went on the circuit to find followers and find fans. Now it's all like, you could really build a following of like 50,000 people and have real people in different cities that want to see you when you pop out there that never even like heard of you before the Instagram ad or whatever. So it's kind of, I feel like 2021 is so much different than any other time because back in the day that was the case where you built this like strong cult following by popping out. And now there's so many people just popping up off the internet. And I don't know. I think that it just creates like a weird diversion between what we were used to and what's now. And I think that's the part that we're always trying to like figure out is like, where's that connection? Like how can we do what we were used to doing, but also be updated into now, you know? Cause like I know a kid who he does Instagram ads crazy and he's built a following in different countries, artist by the name of Mark Barino. He's built a following in different countries to where every single day he has like people from India like hitting him up and like, and I know if he was to go to like a city in India right now and perform, he can get like 100 people to pop out.
Fire.
And I don't think that was a thing back in the day.
No.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think COVID actually helped that too, as far as like, you know, a lot of these internet or people being able to garner a lot of like fans through the internet. And it's like now COVID kind of had everybody still like stuck in the house, wanted to listen to different things and experience different things. Even for me, myself, I found a plethora of different artists.
Also just boredom.
Yeah, boredom too.
Yeah, like boredom created that for artists. Like if you didn't put out music during COVID, I think you missed out. I know it's still going on, but like there was a time where everyone was just in the house, like
Ain't nothing
even
to do.
working. Like, yo, maybe if they were at their office, they can't bump music, but at their house while they're working on their laptop, they can.
Yeah.
So like if you weren't dropping music consistently throughout COVID, I think you missed an opportunity to at least get like some people on board with you.
Yeah.
You know?
People, you feel like people who didn't have time, like what you said, like to check it, like they know of you.
Right.
And like, you know, I do want to find time to check this kid out or whatever, or this artist out. Like COVID could have helped, like, oh, I finally got a moment to
Right.
sit down with it.
Because if you could sit at home and play music all day long, there's people that want to play music all day long. Like the second that they get out of their job, they're in the car with it, bumping new music. So it's like, you missed out on those people being home all day long because now shit's starting to open back up. They're going back to work and shit.
Facts.
So it's like you had this period of time where you could have at least got a listen from them and gained a new follower, gained a new fan, and you just missed out on it because you were in whatever. Like, and I understand like during this process, a lot of people were like down, you know, like they didn't feel good because of what was going on. It created like serious like traumas, but at the same time, like we're in the music business.
Yeah.
Like that shit, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like honestly, like whatever you're going through, and I know, a lot of artists go through shit on the regular, and that's why like we live in our heads.
Yeah.
But like
that's where them great songs come from, though.
I was about to say they should have just been penning too.
Yeah,
like,
that's where it comes from.
That's a fact. But you got to put it to the side and understand that this is a business, and like now more than ever too, I think that you could fall off really quick.
I agree with that.
You know, people want constant content, and if you're not like, that's why we always say like the whole album structure, it just doesn't work anymore. Because while you're going on that hiatus because you just dropped like a 12-track project and you're on like a 6-month hiatus, whatever your process is, or a year, like there's new people consistently dropping music. We said a stat last week, 60,000 new records on Spotify on a daily basis, not on Fridays, on a daily basis, 60,000. So that's what you're competing with. Your 5 tracks or your 10 tracks versus 60,000 every day.
It's probably more on SoundCloud too.
Yeah. Right.
Wait, but can I play devil's advocate to that real quick?
Sure.
All right. To go back, right? You said 60,000 come out a day, right? You drop. All right. I'll say for me, for instance, I dropped a 7-song project dead in the middle of COVID last year, right? A 7-song project. My fault. Don't you think by doing that, right? The topic is what the difference between business and the artistry. Dropping a project, right? That's the artistry, and then going on the hiatus, like instead of dropping music, you're just promoting it and making sure that your shit is getting heard by people, by your market.
You could definitely do that, but how many artists actually do their due diligence of promoting it?
Now that's true, and that's the
if you're
one
the guy who's
that's
promoting
not
it on a
heard.
weekly basis. Because here's my thing. Like we talk about dropping records every week or every 2 weeks. That's how we process, but that's because we're trying to create that steam on a weekly basis. Where like, if you're someone who's promoting every single week with records that you already have, you're finding new listeners. It's like you're dropping a new track every week.
Still the same thing.
Right. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
So
But a same concept,
that,
but exactly. That's the problem. Like, if more artists were promoting their shit properly, I would be like, fuck yeah, bro. Like, drop an album and then promote it every day for a year.
Yeah.
People aren't doing that shit.
And this is something I actually learned, like, was it like 2 days ago on YouTube? When I was advertising my music, I was trying to figure out like why was like popping in like Central and South America and like different places across the country. And I guess now they're having like these emerging markets where like Spotify is starting to reach these markets, and they just want to hear something different and something new. So a lot of these cities are called like trigger cities now, and you'll start popping up like Mexico City and like Brazil's like my main two. And that's just because they're just so interested in listening to music. They're just trying to hear anything. And if the sound is good, they just want to gravitate towards it. And they're going to just run it up for you.
Well, that's why artists also need to be on board with China and figure out which markets or which distribution services reach out to China, because within the next 5 years, like people don't understand China is a communist government that like they really hide a lot of the shit from them. Like real shit. They hide mad internet sources and everything from Chinese people because they don't want them to have access to the outside world. That's how communism works, right? But like there are these new, I guess they're getting less strict on music platforms, and there are these new Chinese music platforms that are allowing American music to like get into the market. And like DistroKid, I think goes to like 2 markets. There's another site that I might transfer all my shit over to that's called 1RPM, and it goes to 4 different Chinese markets. I've noticed even with the podcast, I put us on an Indian platform. From that point, 70% of our listeners are in India.
Damn.
Wow.
Because of that market. Like, yo, you got to understand, in China, there's 2 billion people. In the US, we're promoting shit, but there's 330 million people. Like, it's a difference. Like, even if not a lot of the population listens to this shit in China, like, you could be like a cult following in China and have like 100,000 fans.
Yeah.
For a
That's
cult
big
following.
market. Hell yeah.
Because it's just a different number of people. It's way bigger than we could even understand. Like,
that's a bigger pond to fish in.
Right.
Yeah, definitely
You
a bigger
got
pond.
you got to think like a billion rather is 1,000 millions. 1,000 millions. Like, that's insane.
And then on top of that, looking at it from like it becoming an emerging market, you know how like over here K-pop became like a crazy thing, and like we was like, what is this? Now we're about to have access to turn, you know, I guess rap or whatever into K-pop over there in a sense. Like we're gonna be able to be the ones that's trying to like blow up over there or kind of get a following over there. Yeah,
because everybody's trying to come into America.
Yeah,
so
you know what I'm saying? Now we just being
I think it was you that said you were driving past MetLife and they had like a sold out shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yo, I live like not that far from MetLife, and I never even heard of no shit like that.
That's
You
what
said
I'm
it was
saying,
like sold out.
But yo, straight up sold out, like lines on the highway right on 120 or like Route 3. And you're talking about like, I'm looking at the sign and I'm like, BTS? The fuck is BTS? And then like years later, you fast forward and you're like, they're the biggest shit out. But at the time, I'm like, it's crazy that like a person who I've never, or a group that I've never heard of can sell out MetLife. While you got people in the United States that couldn't do that if they fucking tried.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
But being that these Chinese markets are opening up, like literally just being a part of that, not even having to promote to them, but just being on the platform itself gives billions of people access to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so much easier than we think, but you have to be smart and you have to know that those markets exist. Everyone's so focused on the United States. And I understand why, because like merchandise and shit like that, you don't want to ship something to China and pay the shipping rates. Like shipping a shirt in the United States is bullshit, the pricing of it. You know what I mean? You might pay like $7 for shipping. And it's like the shirt itself only costs $13 and then it's like $20 you're selling it for.
Yeah.
You just lost your profit. You know what I mean? Off of just shipping alone. So if you're trying to ship to like a Chinese market,
forget about it.
It's like giving away for free. Almost.
Right. So that's the problem. Like you can build a following in all these different like foreign countries, but what are we building the following for? Are we trying to build it for the sake of selling merchandise and selling like physical copies of music? Or are we trying to build it for the sake of, look at my Instagram, I got 1 million followers. Both work. And if you have 1 million followers, maybe your American market could now pop off a little bit different because, you know, people just run to the flock. Like they're trying to look at whoever has those followers. So you could use it as a tool. But like, I think artists really need to pay attention to these new markets that are popping up because it's important, you know, like because there's trigger cities in Central and South America that you don't think of people in Brazil just bumping your shit, but like,
I got a few fans in Brazil, man.
I think they got even that like in parts of Africa, because I know I just got hip to, not even hip, but I started to like doing like Instagram ads, but like detailed and like really focusing on my data. You know, I'm getting like followers from South Africa, and I remember I was showing you it was one joint, a fire joint. Like DM me like, yo, I found your music. I fuck with you. I'm like, damn, they got that in South Africa.
Yeah, it'd be crazy with things.
I'm like,
about
now I gotta like focus on that.
Yeah,
what's going
bro.
on over there? So now, like how you saying, like people gotta focus on getting to different markets. Now I'm trying to get into that market over there, and you know what I mean, be a part of that culture and have people over there listen to my music. And like you said,
they'd love to have us out there too,
right?
Man.
Yeah,
like,
yo,
you could do an international
new
tour
to them.
before you do a tour in your own city, a tour in your own country. You could probably have something internationally first before that, and then it's like a lot of people look at that as if it's a bad thing, but it's like, yo, eventually when you get all these fans from different countries or whatever the case may be, it's going to trick the algorithm because no matter what, they just going to see the numbers, and the more numbers that Spotify see, like we were talking about off camera, like the algorithm is going to start paying attention. It starts pushing you different music from different places, and eventually, I know some of my music starts creeping up to the United States and like Dallas and Philly and different places, but it's like I'm not advertising to them.
Yeah,
all my music is across the pond.
You also have to think like Dallas, you probably have people bumping you in like Mexico City, and then they have a cousin who they're like, yo, you heard of this dude?
Exactly.
Like, these are real people. Like, we look at these people like they're numbers and they're just stats, but these are actual people.
real
people.
Like, they know people. Like, if I like a record and we're all in the room together, and I'm like, yo, you guys hear this shit? And I play it for you. Now you guys might like that record too and start bumping the shit. So like we have to acknowledge that there are real fucking people behind these numbers that are gonna show other people. So it's not just like you might advertise and say 1,000 people click on your link. That doesn't mean that it ends at 1,000. Right. Mm-hmm. Like it could go to 1,500 people just off the strength of word of mouth.
I think that's still the strongest like form of promo.
Word of mouth?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Now you just gotta do it a different way.
For sure. Mm-hmm. But it's just, exactly. It's gotta be more pinpointed to people that would never see you. And then kind of like hoping that they turn into that type of fan that will show people. Music's also a weird thing because it's like fickle fans that or not fickle, greedy. Where like you find some hot shit.
And you want to hold on.
And you want to hold on to it like some novelty shit. And you don't understand that you're hurting the artist by doing that.
It's fashion too, man. Yeah, with clothing, it's
facts,
the same, bro.
Facts.
Like nobody would tell like where they got some shit from, bro.
Yeah,
it's
like
so
yo,
corny.
Like,
I seen a skit about that. He's like, yo, where you get that from? Like, yeah, and I got it from somewhere. Like, well, where'd you get it from? I got it from somewhere. Like, yo, just tell me. Like, what's so hard about telling me? But it does happen like that sometimes.
But music's just like that. So
you know, also, while they got that record like that like, you know, they like to hold on to the string of the balloon. Like when people discover you early, it's like they want you to be like theirs, you know?
Yeah, because how many people do you know that will be like, I used to fuck with him when he was like just coming up, but like now that he's mainstream, I don't.
Right.
You know
it becomes a bragging thing for a sense sometimes too. Like, yeah, I was listening to before anybody else was listening to him, and you know, you see a lot of people saying that and doing that, so
that's
it becomes
some hipster
that
shit.
Yeah, it becomes that too.
Yeah. I was bumping him before anybody.
Like he put me on the West Side. And like West Side Gun and
Griselda. I was on Griselda super early too, and I loved their music, but I also knew that they were gonna eventually pop. Like it didn't even seem like some shit that wasn't gonna pop.
Nah, I didn't. Bro, I was listening to them when they was doing like only 3 city tours. They can only do 3 cities on the East. Yeah. That's when I was listening to them. And then once they got like, once rap got behind them, like real hip hop artists, like the legends got behind them, that's when I was like, okay, now it's over.
Yeah, but who's to say that they weren't actually like paying these artists to be on their tracks, which probably is what happened.
Nah,
in music, like that's the business. It's smart at a certain point. If you have
somebody
your catalog,
admitted that recently.
What that they pay people?
And this is like a month or two ago that I saw this, that they were just early on in their career, they were just saying like, I had to do what I had to do.
Yo, I want to talk to
they got a relationship out of it, right? And you know what I'm saying?
I want to talk to the kid at home that thinks that like every time you hear 2 artists on a track, it's like some friendly shit. It's not. Like this is a business, and a lot of the time, like even if the record is dope and it seems like the 2 have chemistry, a lot of the time it was paid for, and that's fine. That's just the business
unless
of
it's
it.
me and done. It's for free. Yeah.
And that's even between like labels too. Like a lot of time, like the labels will say, I forgot who it was, but they said that they did a track and they tried to get charged for, I think it was T-Pain, because you know they be trying to tax him, and he did a track for somebody for free, and then he was asking for the same thing, and then they sent the bill over. And he's like, yo, what's up? Why you sending me a bill? I did this for you for free. And he was like, it was the label.
He thought it was a swap.
Yeah, he thought it was a swap. It was definitely
Nori
like
tried to charge someone like 30 grand, but Nori was like, I thought his label would pay it, so I didn't think it was a big deal. Back in the day, there were label budgets that like, if you wanted a feature, the label would go out of pocket and pay for the shit. Nowadays, like labels don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
about
you on
that.
your own try to find features and
they might get you a feature if you're already like super important, and they're like, we need to tap into a different market. So like, let's get Meg Thee Stallion on this record, and the record doesn't even have chemistry. It doesn't work at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
it's just a name at that.
Tell when some records is like emailed over.
For sure.
Yeah, rather than them both being in the studio.
Most records these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially with the power of the internet and how much you could do. Like, we could really sit here and do a record with someone from Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like, within the next 10 minutes and ship it out to them and have that record done in a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't have to know what they're saying on the record.
Yeah.
They could be dissing you the whole verse. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, we could do these records. So, like I have records with people from the UK and shit, and never seen them a day in my life, never met them. I don't know what they're about. I just know that, like, the record was cool, and I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
But what's dope about that is because, you know, when the world was a little bit more open and we was, like, going to Canada to perform and shit like that, we was meeting artists out there. And what's really dope about that is that, like, you get a relationship with them guys, and, like, you know, when they got something going on, like a show or something like that, they like, if they rock with, they invite you up, like, yo, come do that record and, you know, that goes into what we was talking about earlier about, like, now you could get kind of like a gateway to, like, tap into these different markets when you're messing with
all about the
different
business.
Artists. Yeah,
all about the business, making connections, networking. It's the same thing.
We also forget that, like, America, it's going to sound pretentious, but that's not the meaning behind it. Like, America drives culture. Like, as much as people don't want to admit that, and specifically African Americans drive culture in like different countries. And like, bro, for instance, there are places right now that are stuck on like 90s hip hop, and not good 90s hip hop, like the hardcore, like, you know, like boom bap, whereas like they're stuck on that shit.
That shit.
And
yeah, I thought that was a soundbite. I was like, what the fuck was that shit?
But like, they're like 20 years behind. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to like different Asian countries, they might be like 10 years behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and with the internet, they're able to kind of update themselves a bit. But like, there are these places that are driven by us. So we think that, at least I feel like, everyone hates Americans, right? Like, you go to another country and you're just like, oh, they fucking hate us over here, right? But like, that won't change them from like, if you're a creative artist, latching onto you because you have what they're trying to make in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, so when you go to Canada, like, look at a Drake. Like, Drake pops off, yeah, he's from Toronto, but like, majority of his success is here.
In the States. Yeah.
You couldn't even tell me that he don't live in America.
He does.
He do?
Well, he was living in Calabasas. He bought that home in Toronto.
But now he live like mostly up there in Canada, right?
Yeah.
I think the one in Toronto was
the entire
like
time.
the
He got enough money to have one in every state.
Yeah, that's facts too.
Exactly.
He could be anywhere right
exactly.
now.
But like, majority of his success was here, and it's because artists want to pop and come here.
Yeah.
They don't want it the opposite way.
Yeah.
So like, when we go to these different countries and we're like vibing with musicians over there, like, they're looking at us like, yo, they're the ones that are like doing what we're trying to do.
It's like,
Gotcha.
you're gonna get it from the source. Like,
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
they
Exactly.
trying to get, like, that's the source right there.
Like,
So.
you could really go somewhere and see that they're like attempting to make the music that we're making, but they don't get it. You know what I mean? So you could actually like help them to understand, like, oh, I know what you're going for. Like, say it like this.
And then
Right,
low key, like, we cultivating like, so, like, even with the advertising, like when you do run the ads across the world, you don't really like know if you like cultivating like a new wave or a new sound for these other countries. And
Someone
it's like,
that, they haven't heard
That's
this
very
before.
they
true.
think that, you know, you're a bigger artist because they're like, a lot of times like my advertisements, they'll hit me up like, yo, it reached Brazil or it reached over here. Like, you know, you're doing big things. And it's just like, I'm still just a regular guy, but they feel like I'm a bigger artist. And you never know what kind of impact that may possibly have, because I've had like different artists from different countries, and it was just like, I see that they do music too, and I'll be following them, and just to be, you know, just to see what's going on. Is like, you just never really know if they like listen to your music, like, oh, maybe I could try to use this style somewhere else, and it becomes an influential thing, and then you never know, they may blow up.
Or
Because you're Mr. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, even aside from like connecting with other creatives, I remember like a few years ago, as a kid from he was, I think, in Israel. He was like in the Israel Air Forces, like an army dude. He's like, yo, we like play your music and wherever he was staying at, but like he was an army dude, so like, yo, motherfuckers going to war, but they listening to my shit.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that fucking guy will kill the shit out of somebody too.
That's crazy, bro. I'm like,
Listening to Gunsmoke.
that might have been the song he was listening to. He's like, yo, me and like my squad listen to your music.
That's hard.
That's crazy.
I'm like,
dope.
damn, that's crazy. So like, they like over there, like whatever type of music they make or listen to over there, that probably wasn't connecting with them. You know what I'm saying? So he listening to some shit that's probably like putting him on a whole different wave.
Yeah,
So
he
now
ready
he
to run
putting
the
his
drill
people
now.
on. Yeah, he putting his people on him. He's like, all right, that's what we on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
As Mr. Ad guy, I want to ask you this question. The other day, I'm just looking at a promotion, and I'm reaching countries that have more people, like a China, like in India, right? And this promotion said, with this amount of money, you would reach 480 million people, right? And then it said, too broad. What's your thought on, for me, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you're telling me it's going to reach 480 million people if I do it like this, or it's going to reach 70,000 if I do it like this, I don't care that you feel like this is too broad. For the same amount of money, I want to reach that amount of people. So what's your thought process on that?
I would say it has to be, so like for instance, when I released the song that just came out this Friday, like the first 3 or 4 days, I'll do like $20 a day. It'll be broad because I put like a lot of different artists inside of there. So I'll put $20 a day for like 5 days for like $100. And I'll leave it from 13 to 45. So I'll leave it for the first 5 days with like a $20 budget.
Wait, 13 to 45, like the age?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'll leave
it
it like that. So then once the ad starts going out after that 5 days from all that information being gathered, that's when you just close it in. So it's just basically for like, it says too broad, but you want it to be too broad at the first point. But after a while, you want to start closing it in. So then like my music is really for people between the ages of 18 and 35. But I leave it open each song like from 13 to 45 just in case, because I never know.
I felt like that was such a corny like ticker at the top that said too broad, because I'm like,
Yeah, it always says too broad.
What is the purpose of this? Like, is the purpose not to get as many eyes on it as possible? And if so, like, I don't care that it's too broad.
Yeah.
Because if you're reaching 480 million people, like, you might catch the 70,000 that the other one would have caught, and you would have only gotten 2% of that shit.
Yeah.
If I get 2% of this number, we're looking at something serious.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was just like, I don't care that it's too broad. I'm going to go about it this way. And I think that works. So now you're verifying that, like, I wasn't
keep it
wrong
too broad.
in my thinking.
Yeah, keep it too broad. But after a while, you want to just try to condense it to whatever audience is kind of sitting with. Because some of my songs, it may do well with like a 13 and 18 range. But then some of my songs are really for 18 to 24. And then some of them like 35 and 45. So it's like, it always depends on the song. You know, I normally would like to be for the younger, like 13 to 18. Because, you know, at that point, that's kind of where you fall in love with fans. I mean, artists when you were growing up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm a college rapper with 18 to 24, I'm a college rapper. I'll take it. J. Cole was a college rapper. Wale was a college rapper. A lot of people that was college rappers.
Our camera went off.
Here we go.
What I want to do for the first time is, like, normally we do 2 separate episodes that would be 2 different topics, but this conversation I think is very important.
It's flowing.
So let's cut this and we'll go into episode or part 2 of this same episode, and we'll work it like that
That's fire.
for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back, guys.